It is Friday, and boy howdy, I am tired of being thoughtful, and I am tired of being substantive. I don't want to read anything that would qualify as, really dense and nutritious in terms of mental stimulation. I just want to eat cotton candy right now, and we're going to do that with the week's underserved headlines. Headlines that didn't get as much attention as I think they might have on the national level, but are nonetheless fun to plow through. So we're going to do yet another installment of Friday Release Valve. And I am joined by two very funny comedians. I'm joined by Kevin Seefried. Welcome back, Kevin.
Hello. And thanks for having me.
You're in D.C. at the moment, or did you flee to the hinterlands? Where are you?
Oh, I fled to Florida, where my folks have a place that I've been camping out at.
Okay, all right. So no risk of freezing, and you probably have a yard. You probably have, I assume, pet alligators. I don't know. I don't know as much about Florida.
Yeah, lots of pet alligators. It's just a little condo, so no yard, but I don't really want one at this moment in time. Anything to keep me more than 6 feet away from people.
Yeah. Nice. And Marie Connor, you and we follow each other on Twitter. And I have known you from a distance for a while now and been like, she's really funny. I would love to meet her and swap jokes with her. And I reached out on Twitter, and for one of the rare instances in my life, Twitter was a positive thing as it connected us. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And you're a stand-up and a comedy writer up in Boston.
I am. Yep.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, we'll kick off our first story outside of the United States to Germany. Headline is, Berlin club to reopen with strict no dancing rules. The economy's kind of restricting a number of businesses. Berlin clubs are no exception to that. And so they're resuming, and a couple of them, Zeitun, and I can't remember the other, Yam. If you know the Berlin club scene, I'm sure you're familiar with these terms. They're like, we need to make money. We're going to come back, but we're going to have a strict no dancing rule. You'll just be able to, drink beer and sit and chat, but within social distancing guidelines. And I have to say, this sounds fantastic. I hate clubs. I have never liked clubs. But the only power I have to interact with people is being clever. And when you put me in a room with massive thumping noises to where I can just shout, like, what's your favorite color? And I can't be a raconteur, and I'm also expected to dry hump strangers, which makes me feel very awkward on a variety of levels. I can't do that. I could really rock this. I think I could be really good at a Berlin club right now.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board as well. I did find it funny. One of the clubs that is doing the distancing is called Sisyphus, and I do think they're flying a little too close to the sun. It's just a strange. To me, the bigger issue is just opening up in general. Just seems dumb. But it's like, if your operation is to have dance and now you're replacing it with no dance, then you're just upgrading your business. Like, we didn't need a pandemic for this to happen. We just needed people to care about their customers and make a decision that would serve them best. So I'm definitely on board.
You raise a good point. I forgot that there was a club named Sisyphus, and you could interpret that so many ways. Like, if you weren't good at pulling, like if you always went home alone, then Sisyphus would be the club for you, where you're like, time to go strike out again. It's Thursday night in Berlin. Marie, are you excited to fly to Germany and hang out at a danceless club?
Finally, a reason to go to Germany. Yeah, I mean, I'm 5'11". I'm all arms. It's a danger when I dance. I don't dance, and I'm really thriving in this world of no contact with people. I do kind of like how they're just kind of saying, "Oh, we're reopening," and I'm like, you're really just turning yourself into a bar, basically.
This is just Footloose in Germany, right?
Which is an even more terrifying version of Footloose.
Yeah, because they were like, okay, well, we've tried the putting in restrictive rules thing before. Went a little overboard. I've seen this musical. Maybe if we just took an idea from there and brought it in, we can kind of mix, German history with 20th century musical
I like
theater.
That Footloose plus accents to make it far more ominous.
I watched that reboot.
Yeah. Marie, you said that you are one of the few people that is productive and fairly well energized during all of this. Up there in your fortress in Boston, are you going to try and convince people that let's just keep this going for an extra 2 or 3 years to be safe even after the vaccine comes out? Like what's your ideal scenario?
Yeah, let's just keep it going until my money runs out, basically, which is coming. But the big thing is wedding season has basically been canceled.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is going to be the summer of my dreams. I'm not going to have a random weekend where I have to go to Maine or something of a friend. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know. I like watching Netflix.
I'm out of. I think I've got a theory. I think there's like 3 life period peaks for weddings. So and this might be very well different from your respective states, but in Oklahoma, from whence I hail, there's a really big push to get married when you're like 23 or 22. There's a bunch of people that right when they graduate college go, when would I ever meet another human being of meritable age? So there's a bunch of those. And then there's another big push around 30 where people panic and decide to get married. And then the next one is like 50. Where people go, wait a minute, there's tax benefits to this? Okay, I'll sling it. And so me being 36, like I'll get like the odd like second marriage right now, but most of the main marriages have kind of like phased out for me. I'm not getting invited to those anymore.
Do you think that this year at weddings they're gonna also outlaw dancing? Because in that case, I understand being like, we have to get married during this pandemic. Okay, I'm not dancing with my dad. Like that is, we're doing it now.
Some of them have done, like some of them have got really creative. You see these occasional feel-good stories in the Washington Post where like somebody will rent out a drive-in theater and they'll like everybody will like come in and park and they'll all honk their horns. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. I like that. I would, if I were getting married, I would get, I think, hamster balls. Like I would have a hamster ball themed wedding and then try and like, or like Zorb. Have you ever seen Zorbing where they like put you in that giant ball and roll you down a hill? That sounds like a cool wedding to me, a Zorbing themed wedding.
Yeah. You're such a dude.
Yes. And fortunately,
like my hair got out of place hearing that.
That's a good point. Fortunately, Marie, I am very much alone. So no one need climb into a hamster ball. I will sling it back to these United States, to the state of Texas. Juror walks off to take phone call as Texas tests first jury trial via Zoom. So I read through this, and it seems like they're testing out Zoom. It seems to be working fairly well, except that one of the jurors just sort of wandered off to take a phone call, and they had to text him or email him or something to loop him back in. And I'll say this. It made me think about ways we can improve the judicial system. I don't think we should have juries by Zoom because I've only been to jury pool one time, but I have to say everybody took it really seriously. Like everybody was super quiet, and actually respected it in a way that I don't think would happen if you were like hauled before Congress or visiting the White House. So I kind of want to maintain that sense of decorum. On the flip side, though, if I were a judge, I would also instruct my juries to applaud after closing arguments and witness testimonies, because I think that would just be a nice feel-good moment for everybody involved in the trial. Why not give them some tip of the hat for their time?
Yeah, throw in a laugh track or something too.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. Marie, are you a former jury foreman or anything like that?
No, I am actually licensed though attorney. Randomly enough, yeah.
Whoa.
I ruined my career by going to law school. If I wanted to be president, I should have just gone into
game
signed
shows.
up for the real world.
Yeah, you should have got into reality TV. That's the route to do.
Exactly. So it is kind of funny. I have no idea how this is going to work. I have been called for jury duty, I think twice, and I sat in the pool, but I knew I wasn't going to get selected. Basically, the cool thing about being a lawyer is they're never going to pick you. Which
scares me a little bit, because wouldn't it be good to have people that understand law sitting in the jury? Like if I were on trial, I'd kind of like that. I would prefer to have experts sitting there.
Both ways. It's kind of depending on which side. You don't want somebody overthinking, especially an emotional case.
Okay.
Because I worked in insurance defense litigation, which had some pretty big whoppers and some crying cases. So, I mean, I have ADHD. I can't imagine Zoom working out, because for me, it's a lot easier to pay attention to the judge and just sit there without a phone if there's consequences. But at home, it's kind of like whatever. I could just say, oh, I lost my internet.
Yeah, or you could turn off the video and start doing your dishes and be like, I'm 30% in here, I'm 70% not. Kevin, you get arrested a lot. What do you think about this?
Well, I love it personally. I just think it's great because I just imagine that there's going to be some jurors who have their internet go out during one of the arguments, but don't want to admit that they don't know how to use Zoom. When we were starting this up, I couldn't get my audio to work, and that's going to happen for some juror who's just going to be like, I guess I'm going to side with whatever everybody else is saying. I also like the idea that if you're a lawyer, and you have this busy schedule and you bill by the hour, why not try 2 cases at once? Open up Zoom on one screen, Skype on the other, and then do your opening argument. When the other guy starts talking, close it out, and then go to the other one, and you can make twice as much money and hurt twice as many people. Oh. I think it's a really great idea.
Hurt twice as
Kevin,
much
this
people.
is a brilliant idea. Wait, so if I'm following you, you're thinking you would have 2 clients, and you would just do an opening monologue that is sufficiently vague that it could apply to either one?
That's an even better idea. I was thinking that you do your opening arguments, and then when the other lawyer is doing theirs, you switch and do the closing arguments. You know what I mean? You know how you take turns? I know very little about law. I've seen 6 episodes of Law and Order,
really? No.
And that's it.
Yeah, and I'm going off of Matlock on my side. So Kevin and my law firm would not be as good as Marie's law firm.
Yeah, that's how I studied for the bar, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like they give a good. Is it similar? The TV shows, do they get it all right?
No.
Yeah,
it really makes me upset.
If they showed the real thing, it would be a really boring show.
I watched, or I didn't watch. My first job in college was working as a legal assistant for a defense attorney, and I had gone into that going, "Wow, I can't wait to protect all these innocent people who've been wrongly prosecuted by overzealous prosecutors." And nope, every single one of our clients was clearly guilty. It was just a question of going "Hey, I know that guy, robbed a liquor store and then plowed his jet ski into the back of a house, and but really, I think we should give him 6 months as opposed to 8 years." It was really just mitigating the sentence for that, and I don't think that would be as good of a TV show. You need to have the nice person who's been screwed over by a jealous lover to really have good drama.
Right.
Oh yeah.
My one question is, I don't know if you guys, how did they do the swearing in for this? Because I don't know if everyone has a Bible. We don't all live in a hotel room with a Bible and beside. Is there just a user terms of agreement that they're using instead?
Yeah,
I swear to tell the whole truth
promise.
And, subscribe to iTunes for 25 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Book We Take Seriously app that they have you download in advance, and there's options where you could go, the Torah or the Bible, or you're well, I don't really, but but the Evolutionary Theory by Charles Darwin. I don't really know what the options are, but they've got a bunch of PDFs. Yeah.
Well, they're doing actual jury trials on it, or is it just jury selection? I don't know if it included that it was a trial.
Marie is once again light years ahead of me and Kevin, who are trying to figure out how this fits into the closing part of a Jimmy Stewart play or something. I think you're right, Marie, because I'm looking at the bullet points that says when they came back, one of the prospective jurors, which would mean that they were still in VID. Yeah. Is that the term VID? Because it's the jury selection thing, right? Where they come in. I've only done it once, and I was so excited. I was actually excited about. I was the only person excited about jury duty because I was like, oh, I'm going to get to do this, and man, I'm going to run for foreman. And I'm out shaking hands, talking to people about how much Matlock I've seen, and then I got cut so quick. I got to go have a full lunch. Basically I got a half day off work. That was my jury experience. But yeah, we'll now jump over to Kuwait, where polygamists are having a difficult time with lockdown. The headline reads, "Virus Curfew Complicates Lives of Kuwaiti Polygamists," which I learned a couple of things in there. I didn't realize that a bunch of Middle Eastern countries had actually outlawed polygamy. At least a couple of them have, but Kuwait is the big one. Kuwait's the one that has the largest amount of polygamists, and they are apparently taking lockdown very seriously, and it is being rigorously enforced, which is causing lots of social problems for guys over there with multiple wives. Because the law in Kuwait at the moment is if you have multiple wives, you can visit your other wives for 1 hour per week, which means that you have to go, "Hey, wife, you are not my top pick to weather this storm with. I'm just going to swing by for what might be a conjugal visit, but either way, you only get an hour. I'll be staying with my main wife, and I could see how that would get really awkward really quick.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't help with the virus at all. Like, if you go and see someone for an hour and you're not distancing at all, then you guys can still exchange. There's no difference between doing that for an hour and doing it for 24 hours. You still have as much exposition. So this is almost as poorly thought out as polygamy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not actually preventing anything. I think that probably what happened is there was someone who has multiple spouses and was like, look, I really only like backup. So during this, I'm going to use it as an excuse.
That I actually think you're right about that, because the science checks out. Like, if in theory, let's say I had a very different life here in the United States, and it was like, well, I've got my live-in girlfriend, but I also have 2 or 3 women with whom I'm in an open relationship, and we have, weekly sex, but I only see them once a week for an hour when we have sex to mitigate the exchange of pathogens. It's like, no, we would all get whatever is happening there. I would be the I think you're right. There must be an emir or something who is like, oh, this is a great excuse to get out of like a fight I've been having. Maria, I would like your interpretation of Kuwait, polygamy, relationships, anywhere you want to jump in.
I don't think I could be a polygamist in Kuwait, to be honest. I don't know how they are in gay marriage, but
just in Kuwait or anywhere?
Pretty much the whole zone.
Right.
I feel like it would, Marie, as the former attorney, stand-up comedian, lesbian, I feel like I would watch the sitcom of you being in Kuwait as a multiple wife, but I feel like
one episode.
Yeah, but I feel like it wouldn't pan out. The end of the episode wouldn't be a lesson that I wanted to learn, and it wouldn't be renewed.
It would end as The Handmaid's Tale, basically. But no, I mean, I think it's kind of weird that they live separately. I guess because everything I know about polygamy comes from that show on HBO.
Big Love.
And didn't they all live kind of together?
Yeah, they had like a I don't want to call it a compound, but they had like 3 separate houses that all shared the same backyard. So they had like a little clutch of homes. And just kind of like a little village of children that were running around back and forth between all of them all of the time, which, by the way, if I were a polygamist, which I can't even maintain one relationship, so this is all complete conjecture for me. But if I were a polygamist, I agree with you, Marie. I would want to put them very close together, because that's, if one of us is going to do one task where somebody's taking care of the kids or whatever, then you can double up and you can have a scale of economy, which I assume is the most important thing within a polygamist relationship is scale of economy and division of labor. A former Green Beret and his son were arrested in Massachusetts. They allegedly smuggled the ex-Nissan chairman out of Japan in a box. So the former chairman of Nissan was going to be indicted for something, and these Green Beret guys went over there and like hid him in a big old stereo box and then got him to Massachusetts, where somebody found him, hauled him out, and he's going to be sent right back to Japan. And this comes like a month after those guys got caught down in Colombia. Or no, not Colombia, Venezuela. I don't know if you all looked at that, but there was about a month ago, 8 or 9 Green Berets went down to Venezuela, former Green Berets, I should say, and former Green Berets in this story. Former Green Berets went down to Venezuela to whack Maduro and try and put in the other guy, and like 7 of them got shot like as they got off the boat, and then 2 of them got captured, and were like, Trump told us to do it. And then the administration was like, no, we didn't. And then they were like, well, the other guy, like the pretender to the throne, he told us to do it. And it comes out that the guy actually did hire them, but then he changed his mind, and then they did it anyway. So it's kind of unclear what's happening. But apparently, if you are a former Green Beret and you want to be involved in like really interesting work, that is a conduit for mercenary and or I don't know what the opposite of an attorney is, where you try and like steal your clients to a safe location as opposed to a courtroom.
Hey, whatever you can do, in this economy to make a buck, I support it.
Yeah, good point. It's like maybe they've got like a gig app. Like there's like an Uber for former Green Berets.
Yeah, like a Fiverr,
Right, yeah, or DoorDash, except it's for insurrection.
I need you to do a coup or, you know, something like that. Like, swipe, I'll take that. Yeah. I got time.
It's got to be like interesting. You have to get interesting work if you were a former Green Beret. Because what are you going to go work at Olive Garden? Like, the stakes of your job have always been so high that to not have a crazy job would be like, it just wouldn't make any sense. It's like in The Incredibles when the family moves back and he's in that little car and he like has to keep going to the cubicle. You can't put a hero in a situation like that. You got to put him in a Jason Statham movie, which is what this is. It's just a bad Jason Statham movie. This is like the Transporter 4, but like the Home Alone. Like, I don't know. Do you see Home Alone 4 where it was like bad and it wasn't Kevin McAllister
that was the
anymore?
other kid. Yeah, I saw it, but I've never seen it again.
That's what this is for the Transporter films. You know, they're like, I guess it's an executive. I guess we save an executive. You know how Americans love executives?
Yeah.
That's who we're going to save in this movie.
You know, I think you're right about that. Plus, like, I've never been a Green Beret or a former Green Beret, but I would imagine it is a job which elevates your adrenaline. And I wonder if there's not like a shelf of adrenaline level where they're like, hey, you're going to be a golf pro. And you're like, I just can't get the old blood pumping unless there is a looming prospect of death and or international consequence. I'll jump over to Russia. Russian coronavirus nurse scolded for wearing bikini under see-through gown. This comes from the Moscow Times. If you see the story, you see what we can infer is probably an attractive young lady, although she is wearing a mask and goggles and a see-through poncho, like a transparent rain tarp. And it kind of read at first like this was some sort of audacious, like sexy thing she was doing that everybody was mad at. And the more I read it, I was like, it sounds like she's working in an unair-conditioned hospital and has to wear like a mask and goggles and gloves. And she has very logically decided that underneath her very non-breathable poncho, she's just going to wear a bikini so she's not sweating. I am 100% on this lady's team. I hate sweating, and if I were forced to wear tons of layers of stuff, I would do something like that too.
I support it.
So Marie, you're an attorney. Are you a former doctor as well? Because I feel like you could complete the trifecta.
Well, technically, I guess it's a doctorate, a JD. I like to say that's my girlfriend. She's a CRNA and actually knows what she's talking about and is like working in the ICU right now as we speak on COVID people. But I like to remind her, like, I have a doctorate, so. You
do outrank her. That's right. If you guys get into you got to pull rank, you win.
Yeah, stupid masters. But she did well in science as opposed to, I think, a C. But I did take epidemiology twice, so I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, nice.
Same class twice. I don't even know where we were going with this. I got lost
I think once again you're the expert. If you're an attorney and you're dating a nurse, I feel like you have far more insight into most of the things we've talked about than we do.
My Russian law, not up to date.
Okay.
But I do support, although I did follow up with her story, and I guess her punishment was reversed.
Okay.
Which I feel like, so there is good.
What was her punishment? I can't remember. Did she get censured? Or did they send her home? I can't remember what they did.
Something like that. Or they just reprimanded her, gave her a stern talking to.
She probably had to just live in a country where Putin was in charge. I think that's a decent punishment.
That's a decent, you have to live in an authoritarian regime indefinitely.
I still like the creepy part because I'm, I guess, a feminist, but is the creepy guy who took the photo.
Yeah,
he was helping.
Right?
What the hell is wrong with you, sir? First of all, aren't you supposed to be dying? And she's helping you. And you have the power to take a picture? I don't think so. Something's up.
100% agreed on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't normally I'm not hospitalized that often. But when I do, I ask if my nurses or doctors want to take a picture before I take that picture. And generally, I'm in it with them so I can put it on Instagram. I say, finger wag to you, creepy guy in Russia. Mm-hmm. Now, Kevin, you own a lot of ponchos. So do you have any particular insight on this?
No. I mean, to me, the main thing is just making sure it's like, if you're going to dress casually underneath the poncho, make sure it is casual Friday. You know, if it's Monday through Thursday, like, you can't really go that cash. But Friday, bikini, whatever you want to do, treat it like a pool party. That's your day, you know? But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've worn a poncho before. They're incredibly uncomfortable. Whatever you have to do to be in a better situation there, to me, this is just me and my shame over my own body. I can't wear like a tank top because I'm embarrassed about my arms. So like, if you have the confidence to do whatever you want to do in public, like, go for it. I feel like at this point we're all on the same board of like, anyone who's telling a woman what to wear, especially one who's saving lives. I mean, that's like so Russian. You know what I mean?
And I'm just against sweating.
Duh.
I'm just very anti-sweat. So whatever you do to not sweat, kudos to you. In China, woman sends 1,000 kilograms of onions to her ex-boyfriend to make him cry. And so I think they were dating a year. He broke up with her, and she sent him, like I said, 1,000. I don't know kilograms. I don't know the metric system, but 1,000 kilograms sounds like a lot. Like, I'm guessing that's several boxes of onions. And she sent them to make him cry. I actually, if this happened to me, I would feel bad because I don't know how to cook. And so I feel like I would feel like I was being wasteful with free onions and incompetent with cooking instruments. So this would be a very good insult to send me. I don't know. Kevin, if you got a 1,000 kilograms of free onions, how would you react?
Well, a lot of people don't know this. This is actually how the first farmers market started. There was a big breakup, and somebody really wanted their ex to cry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to me, the main issue is that, like, you don't cry because you see an onion. You cry because you cut it up. And she just sent him the supplies to make himself cry. That doesn't help at all. You have to actually, like, create the situation in which, like, the smell's released that makes you cry. So I think it was somewhat poorly thought out. But also, who's thinking during a breakup, you know?
You know what? I think actually, Kevin, I'm with you. So what she should have done is she should have sent the 1,000 kilograms of onions and then hired a former Green Beret to rush up, pull out a Bowie knife, and start cutting said onions, which would be terrifying initially, and then there'd be a wave of relief. And as the wave of relief was hitting you that this man was not going to gut you like a fish, at that point, you would begin to cry, both from the emotional magnitude of the event and from the onions which had been pierced by said Bowie knife.
And the Green Beret would start crying. It would start as like an onion cry, but then slowly turn emotional. Like, what does my life come to? I'm out here just butchering vegetables. I used to work for the nation.
Marie, what do you make of this gesture?
Well, being the good American that I am, I decided to look up kilogram to pounds, and it's 220 pounds of onions.
Whoa, okay.
And personally, if my ex sent me 220 pounds of onions, I'd be like, well, that confirms my decision.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I would feel stupid about my lack of cooking. You're taking the smart approach of you are crazy, and I'm glad that we're not in a relationship, you weird onion sending ex.
Well, I date lesbians, so yeah, they're pretty much crazy. I've never gotten onions, though, but...
I am going to call you next time I have a bad breakup and be like, hey, can we compare? Like, I just need to know where on the spectrum of bad I am right now and share notes. That sounds good to me. All right, final story. New Zealand, person wanting payments holds sheep for ransom. Police were forced to intervene after a woman held an associate sheep for ransom. And then there's just a series of puns of ram, some, and you. I actually cut most of those out when I sent them to you because I really don't like puns. But basically, the long and the short of it is, from what I could tell, vigilante justice in New Zealand involves capturing someone else's sheep until you can force them to come to the negotiating table. And I find that adorable. I wish I lived in a sheep-based economy.
Yeah. I think it's dangerous, personally, because you're going to have to tell them how many sheep you have. And as soon as you start counting, you're going to fall asleep. Right. And then they're just going to come back and take all the sheep, you know? So you got to make sure you're counting something besides sheep, I think.
Wow.
I would go with, I don't know, take something else for ransom. Money or property? I don't know.
Children? There's lots of other things, that are typically used as ransom bartering materials in other countries besides sheep.
Also, what do you send back? Some wool? You just like make a sweater from the sheep and send it back to them? It's like,
Oh man, that
would be
is
genius.
Simultaneously cute and ominous. Of like, you get a sweater that says, "I have captured your sheep," and you're like, well, it's probably okay because it's just the wool. But at the same time, I know that they're shearing it, and so there's knives.
Yeah.
Marie, did you check to see how many onions one sheep is?
Yeah. No, actually, all I know about sheep This is what, whenever I hear a story about sheep, to be honest, I think about, this is going to go
for it.
Sideways.
Go on an aside.
Because from Ireland, right? I'm fourth generation. And when I went back, I got stuck in traffic, which was just some sheep who were just sitting in the road and they were kind of not moving. And the guy who walked by was like, you got to wait until they decide when to go. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is I'm really happy that my ancestors got on the boat because I don't like sheep very much. And that's what I always come back to. I had nothing on to New Zealand. I've never been, but...
No, I could see, because I used to live in Scotland, and I was up in the Highlands last summer, and when you get into like the really small towns where it's like it's only big enough for one car, those roads are designed for sheep, and you're allowed to use them when the sheep aren't using them. And imagine if you had that many sheep in Boston, because I already feel like Boston's a little bit tricky to navigate, given that your city was apparently designed by drunken sailors. Like, there's no grid system that I could identify anywhere in there. If you dropped in a bunch of sheep, like, that'd be it. Everybody would be on like segways and rope courses.
Yeah, we live in constant fear of the sheep arriving.
Have you ever heard of extreme Welsh sheep herding?
No.
If anybody is listening to this program in Wales, first of all, you should be doing this. And second, you should be proud of this. Like the Welsh are really, they're proud of their choirs. Like, they're really good singers. Like, it's a big part of their culture. They can slip into harmony the way like geese fly in formation is just very effortless for them. But some of their farmers or some of their sheep herders get bored and will Google this. They'll take like LED Christmas lights that are battery powered, and they'll wrap their sheep in them, and they will put them up on a hill, and they'll train their sheep. This sounds crazy, but they do it. They train their sheepdog to like get the sheep in formations at night. So they'll like play Pong using sheep. So that like they'll be like one sheep is or like I think the dog is the designated Pong bit, but they'll do all these weird, like, you can watch it where they're on this other hill and they'll start making these cool designs and things using LED sheep. And I'm like, that hats off to you, Welsh sheep herders or shepherds. That's the term I'm looking for. Shepherds.
There you go. Do you think, and just because you mentioned Christmas lights, do you think that like Jesus, when he was a shepherd, that he had really just taken people's sheep ransom and was like, you love your neighbor or you're not getting any of these back?
Yep.
And then he just got to hold on to all of them for eternity.
I think that and the LED lights are all in 2 Corinthians. People just don't bother reading it, but it's all in there. Well, guys, that's all of the headlines. I think we have covered all of the relevant news this week. If you listen to the whole podcast, you got everything. You don't even need to read The Atlantic. You're good. Marie Connor, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ThisTallAwk, AWK girl. And you can also check out my website. There are really no shows going on right now for comedy, but hopefully soon they'll start up again. And that's www.thistalawkwardgirl.com. And yeah, any news and stuff will be on there. Right now I'm pretty much just
And also you're active on Twitter, and you're active on Twitter, and you also shoot a lot of jokes on Twitter.
I do. Yeah.
Which is how I found you. I saw you on Twitter and I was like, she's funny. I'm going to follow her.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Kevin, how about you? Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Seefried, Seefried. And then I'm also on Instagram, Kevin Seefried. Same spelling.
Nice. Gang, thank you so much.